All right. All right. How is everyone doing? Welcome to tonight's live stream. It is your host, Rebound. Some call me Reebs, some call me Rebounding, but it is the same person. So hopefully everyone is doing well on this beautiful Saturday night. Let me go ahead and stop the music. All right. Let's see what we have here. So I am back. Hopefully everyone's day is going so far. It is so nice to have you all here. If possible, can someone in the chat let me know if they can hear me loud and clear, whether or not I sound like a chipmunk or if the speech is delayed. So we'll go ahead and wait for that, and then we'll go ahead and get the show started. Let's see, but if you all can hear me, hopefully, I'm still waiting on anyone to let me know if they can hear me loud and clearly. So Donna did say the sound is great. Okay, perfect. All right. So my day is going quite well. I woke up today and I had some energy, which is rare these days, right? It seems like there is a fight to maintain your health. And over these last few days, I've got to witness some things as far as just friends of mine going through narcissistic abuse and not knowing what signs to look for. And I felt that it was very important to, kind of brush up on the topic of narcissism. I know it's something that I don't like to talk about consistently, but I do believe that it is important, right? It is important for people who don't know about the disorder. And it's also important because we know that narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder is something that really does plague society, not just American society, but also global society. And I decided, okay, well, we can go ahead and pick up our Narcissism 101 series and, just kind of talk about more character traits of the narcissist. And right now we have a huge trial going on between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And I feel that this would be a great case study to examine since it is highly publicized to teach you all how prominent narcissism is within our society, how it really is ingrained in all aspects, no matter what income level you come from, no matter your caliber. And so what we're going to do is I'll go ahead and do the Narcissism 101 portion first. And then because of copyright, what I'm going to do is cancel the live stream or end that live stream. And then we'll go ahead right afterwards and pick up on the next live stream. So if I do get a copyright, I can just go ahead and take down the video. However, the information for this video will be up. So if that sounds okay, let me know. Let me go ahead and check who's in the chat. I know I've been MIA recently and I had to work on my mental health and my physical health and my EMF health. So let's see. So we have Umzi in the house. We have Wendy in the house. We have Donna in the house. Luann is in the house. Living in the Kali Yogurt is in the house. How are you? Hopefully all is well. And shout out to all the rest of you listening, right? So it is such a pleasure to have all of you here where I can really express my ideas and findings with you all, right? So narcissism is something that, was very eye-opening for me, and really getting victims of abuse to recover and to empower themselves is near and dear to my heart. All right, so let me go ahead, and we have a few people in the house. I'll just go ahead. Oh, wait, did I hear Chipmunk? I think I saw Chipmunk. Wait 1 second. All right, okay, not Chipmunk at all. Okay, perfect. I'm like traumatized by that event. And I kept seeing laughing emojis and chipmunks. I'm like, what are they saying? Then I listened to the playback and I'm like, oh, okay. All right, so let me go ahead and bring up this slide, and then we'll go ahead and get the show started. Susan's in the house. How are you? Or Suzanne, how are you? Hopefully all is well. So I feel like the presentations kind of get more engagement. So I just figured we might as well do another one. And it kind of helps me on stay on point. So 1 second, you all. Let me just take a sip of water, or it's kind of like water and cranberry juice. All right. So before starting this presentation, who am I, right? So during my hiatus, we've gained quite a few followers, right? So YouTube does this thing where if I don't get on here, then they'll start promoting the channel, which I am thankful for. But I go by the name Rebound, or Rebs, or Rebounding, or Rebounding from Narcissistic Abuse, and I am your content creator, right? And the reason for the name Rebound is because I am constantly bouncing back from the abuse that I've dealt with by these particular entities, right? So if you're new to my channel, just go ahead and go ahead and check out the channel, browse the channel, let me know how you feel about it. If you have any questions in relations to spiritual warfare or narcissistic abuse, and you don't want to leave it on the channel, go ahead and email me, and then you can send your comments or questions there. And my email is rebounding from narcissistic abuse, rebounding from narcissism, at gmail.com. All right. So as I stated earlier, this is going to be a continuation of the series of Narcissism 101. So in the first series, or the first course, I talked about the common traits that we understand that narcissist displays, right? So we talked about gaslighting. We also talked about the cycle of abuse. We talked about various manipulation tactics, the lying, the backstabbing. And, I wanted to go ahead and continue to expound upon that because narcissists, even though they can seem quite simplistic in nature, they are evolving, and there are many traits that these entities have. And so I feel that it is important for the victim of abuse to be able to identify these traits so that they're not deceived by them, right? So the narcissist is going to be very predatory in nature. Wendy says it's a cute slide. Yeah, it's you know what? They had a template. I was like, perfect. This is perfect. So I found the template online. I figured, why not go for it? Okay. So like I stated in our last teachings, we talked about the cycle of abuse. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what it's like to date a narcissist, typically when you first meet the narcissist, everything seems a-okay. Everything seems perfect. Everything seems amazing. And slowly but surely, the devaluation comes in, right? So this can be the narcissist getting the victim of abuse to question their reality, getting the victim of abuse to doubt themselves, to gaslight themselves. And afterwards, if the victim of abuse doesn't wake up to what they're dealing with, they're typically discarded. And this is usually something that catches them off guard, which is in turn going to re-traumatize them, because a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse have dealt with high amounts of childhood trauma, which makes us ideal for this type of abuse, right? So let me go ahead. And then also, for those of you who don't know, the reason why I'm very passionate about discussing this type of abuse was because it was very eye-opening for me. It was something that I dealt with for about 30 years. I've dealt with it in the romantic setting, in the familial setting, and the work setting. And I decided, okay, before I go ahead and create a YouTube channel and discuss my findings, let me go ahead and heal. And so I thought healing from this abuse would be the answer, right? I thought, it would be the end all be all. However, what I've discovered is the attacks still come. But because I am aware of what I'm dealing with, I'm able to set strong boundaries, and I'm able to safeguard myself so that I'm not re-abused, and my self-esteem isn't hit. And so that's another thing that I wanted to go ahead and point out. Okay, so when you examine the narcissist, right, and then you want to look at it, at least the way that I interpret it is I see it as a spiritual stronghold. I liken narcissistic personality disorder to demonic possession, right? And because there is a spiritual entity or this contractual agreement between the narcissist and these dark entities, we see a lot of patterns and similarities when it comes to examining this particular type of disorder. So narcissism is something that is global, right? And if you can identify the traits of a narcissist, you can identify any narcissist, no matter where you are in the globe, no matter if you're in a third world country or a first world country. And this makes it a little easier. However, When you examine the concept of narcissism, you realize that there is a spectrum. And on this spectrum, you have your covert narcissist and then you have your overt narcissist. And although they do present differently on the surface, internally they are the same. So, this is why I stress really understanding the character traits and the patterns of the narcissist. So, once again, you're not deceived by their kind. And then, in addition to that, I do believe this is just a theory of mine that narcissists are the majority. This is a disorder that has really impacted the planet negatively. And because I do believe that we're in end times, because I do have a biblical belief, our foundation, I believe that the spirit is manifesting each and everywhere, right? And really seeking who it can devour. And because the awareness of narcissism is increasing, these type of entities are they're kind of desperate, right? And so they're really trying to gather these relationships with people who aren't aware, but because it's becoming more popularized, they're having such a hard time, which is why they're glitching out, y'all. They are glitching out. Hey, be good. How are you? Hopefully, all is well, but they are glitching out. Okay. Okay. So, I want to go ahead and discuss the objective, right? Just so that we are on the same page when it comes to my purpose here on YouTube. So there's been some confusion in relations to, the direction of the channel. And I just want people to first and foremost understand that this channel is all about empowerment, right? So I really want victims of abuse to take their power back and to leave these toxic situations. Now, because narcissism is a spiritual disorder, we really do have to pick up on their character traits, right? And so, once again, this is going to help us pinpoint that dark entity, right? So that we're not abused by them, right? Because once again, this is highly spiritual. And you see, so pretty much you have the narcissist and the physical, but they're influenced by the demonic realm, which makes it spiritual. And so, this is why when we try to flee a narcissistic relationship, it seems like they know where we are before we go there. We're gaslit from people who know them, or we're attacked by people similar to them. This is why we have there's such a stronghold when it comes to us wanting to leave these type of situations, because there is a spiritual influence. And for us, the victims of this type of abuse, it really does go back to childhood, right? It's almost as if the narcissist, they cast a spell over you. And if you don't know what you're dealing with, it is extremely hard to break that spell. And, for somebody who's dealt with this for 30 years, oh my goodness, just know that my heart is with you. You can get through this. And if you're going through a difficult time, it's very important for you to try to seek out professional help and spiritual leaders to help you understand what you're going through, and to be that support system for you. So for a lot of us who've dealt with narcissists, we know all too well how they try to isolate us and tell us that we're not worthy. And because we let go of a lot of former relationships that we had with people who were healthy, the narcissist is that much more able to control us, right? So remember, no one deserves to be abused, and you are so much more than that. Hence why I believe that having a strong relationship with the creator is important, because the creator is going to add value to you. And once you can learn to add value to yourself, you can learn to add value to your relationships and the communities that you participate in. So let's move on to the next slide. So let's go ahead and talk about a few more characteristics of the narcissist, right? So this example is going to be the bait and switch. So this is going to be the first topic that we discuss here. And I feel like this is important because a lot of people are deceived by the narcissist. So let's just say, okay, so you may ask, why is this important, right? And the reason why I believe that this is important is because when you first meet the narcissist, they're not who you think they are, right? They can be your Prince Charming or the innocent damsel in distress, right? they can mold themselves into anyone that you want them to be. And because a lot of us have dealt with trauma during childhood, we just want to be accepted. We want to be heard. We want to be loved. And when we choose not to work on our childhood traumas, mainly because we didn't know what we endured during childhood, so we just buried how we truly felt within us. When we meet these people, we're heavily drawn to them. It's almost as if we're addicted to them. And once again, this is going to be an example of the spiritual stronghold that the narcissist has on us because they are demonically inspired, right? But going back to when you first meet the narcissist is able to mold themselves to entice caring and empathic people. And this is done so that you fall in love with them and so that you build this strong personal connection with them. So when you first meet the narcissist, they want to hang out with you all the time. They want to move in. They want to know everything that you love so that they can mirror it. And so for those of you who don't understand the concept of mirroring, the narcissist is very great at showing yourself back to you, right? And so a lot of us will get deceived in thinking that the narcissist is our match made in heaven because they seem to be so perfect. However, this is just a manipulation tactic to really get the victim of abuse to fall in love with themselves, right? So what the narcissist is reflecting back to you is not them at all. It's you. It's yourself. And once again, when you notice these traits and you start to meet different individuals, when they show yourself back to you, once again, that's a red flag, right? So this is really important to understand. And going by mirroring you, once again, this is going to lower your guard. And the goal of the narcissist is to lock that relationship in. And so typically once the relationship is secure, once they have their claws on you, this is when you're going to see their true personality. And this is when you're going to start to see the toxic traits, the arguing, the bitterness, the jealousy, the envy, the devaluing, right? Getting them when they question who you are and your self-worth, when they get you to doubt yourself, when they pull you away from things that will empower you, right? And once again, this is going to knock the victim of abuse off guard. And typically, the narcissist is very concerned with their false image. So a lot of the abuse that a lot of us go through is done behind closed doors, right? And so because the narcissist is so fixated on admiration from others and their false image, they don't want society to see who they truly are. And society will turn around and gaslight the victim of abuse and say that this isn't a problem, right? And because of this, this is something that the victim of abuse goes through for a lifetime. So let me go ahead and go to the next slide. I have two screens up, so I'm looking at it on StreamYard and on my other screen. So let's see here. Let's see. All right. So when it comes back to this concept of bait and switch, right? This can also be done in the job setting. So let's just say you interview with an employer and everything seems to be going great. The opportunity seems amazing. However, once you accept the job, you see that there is a character change when it comes to your employer, or the staff at the organization. And this has been done a lot in my lifetime. And as soon as I get there, I'm like, wow, another one and another one and another one, right? Let's see here. Also, it's important to understand this in the friendship dynamic as well, right? So let's just say a friend entices you to go out to an event or to participate in an event. However, during your arrival, I got to remember to change both slides because I'm on a different slide. Excuse me. Let me see. Am I on here? Oh, no, here we are. However, during your arrival, you are baited into a fight, right? Or something goes left. And What a lot of victims of abuse don't understand was this was intentional, right? So the narcissist, life is a game to them, right? And when they are jealous of you, when they're envious of you, they will purposely put you into situations to devalue you or to get others to devalue you. And so, once again, if you can understand the concept of bait and switch, you can disengage from the situation and leave, right? And once again, as I stated earlier, life is a game to the narcissist. We are just tools to be used by them, and they seek to destroy and devalue your positive traits. So let me go ahead and click on to the next slide. We'll go to our second point. So you have to understand that the narcissist views you as an object to be used, right? So the narcissist does not view you as a person. They don't care about how you feel. They don't care about your vulnerabilities. Now, when you first meet them, it does seem that way. It does seem like they cater to your needs when you first meet them, but this is just a manipulation tactic to really draw you in and to make you fall for them, right? So let me go ahead and pull up the next slide. Okay. So, once again, it's important to realize that you're an object to be used by the narcissist, nothing more. Okay. And so, for a lot of us, because we yearn for acceptance, for validation, we can't understand why the narcissist can't see us for who we truly are, no matter how much of our hearts we give to them, no matter our performance when it comes to work, no matter how much we value our friends and relationships, it does not matter. We are a tool to be used. So let me give you an example. When you have friends who constantly want to throw their trash on you by calling you and just telling you how toxic and negative their life is, but they're not interested in any solutions, right? They're just interested in dumping their toxicity onto you, right? And once again, understanding this, understanding that we're only objects in the eyes of the narcissist is truly sad. It's really, really, really sad. But we have to understand that these creatures are transactional beings, right? So nothing more, nothing less, right? So we're no different than a pair of shoes or a vehicle for the narcissist to use. And the narcissist, what makes this disorder so diabolical, right, is they're only concerned with their own needs. They don't care about yours, right? However, when you first meet them, it does seem like they care, which is what makes us fall in love with them, right? And slowly but surely, we start to see that other personality, right? So we can argue that you have two spirits. You have the spirit of the vulnerable, insecure person who happens to be the narcissist, but then you also have that demonic spirit that wants to destroy you at all costs necessary, right? So, once again, this is why I stress the importance of narcissism, right? Because they do a number on us, right? So let me go ahead and check out the next slide. Okay, so it looks like we have a part two. Okay, so in the narcissist's eyes, right, when it comes to viewing us as objects, then we understand that we are replaceable, right? So just like an old pair of shoes, once they get raggedy, you see a new pair of shoes and you throw out the old pair of shoes and you put on the new pair of shoes and you show those off. And so this is going to be very similar to the relationship dynamic between the victim of abuse, who may happen to be a codependent, and the narcissist, right? So because the narcissist has a fear of an abandonment, there's always going to be a list of other people waiting to take on your role. So let's say you marry a narcissist. There is always going to be someone else, right? So a woman who marries a narcissist, there's always another mistress. And there might be two of them, and there might be three of them, and there might be four of them, right? Because the narcissist knows who they are. They know that they're battling with something internally. And they know that once you find that out, you may leave, right? If you have any type of self-esteem, you may leave. This is why they go for the most vulnerable of the population, because they don't want us to leave, because we feed their ego, right? So this is what is known as as narcissistic supply. So when you hear the narcissistic abuse recovery community talk about supply, this is the energy that we give both to the narcissist to fulfill to feed their fragile ego and to also feed that demon that controls them, right? So we have life force within us. These demonic entities don't, right? And the narcissist is also very low on a life force, hence why they attach themselves to us, right? And, another point that I want to bring up here, I think I'll bring it up later, but I'll bring it up here and then we'll discuss it later. So when it comes to the narcissist having a long list and a trail of people that they abuse, just know that if you're in a heterosexual relationship, just know the narcissist could leave you for someone of the opposite sex because these entities, they don't have a sexuality, right? And so that's another hard pill to swallow, but we really need to understand this stuff so that we can better safeguard ourselves and not get in these type of situations, right? And once you understand that in the narcissist's eyes, you are an object to be used, it's going to make it that much better or easier to leave the situation because even though you don't want to accept it, when you realize that they don't value who you are from within, then you know that it's time to leave, right? So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so the next concept that I want to cover is the concept of triangulation, right? And this is something narcissists do. They do so much of. They love to triangulate. It's a game to them. We're a tool for them, right? They love to see us in drama and they sit back with their bags of chips or their popcorn and they indulge as we have to battle out the abuse that they purposely placed us in, right? So for those of you who don't understand the concept of triangulation, pretty much this is a method that the narcissist uses to cause conflict between their victim of abuse, which is going to be their primary source of supply, and someone else. And so this can happen in the familial setting. Let's just say parents pit the siblings against each other. Oh, why can't you be like this sibling? Or it can also happen in the business or romantic setting. So for this example, let's go ahead and discuss a blend of both, right? Of both business and romantic setting, right? So let's just say you have a guy who's a narcissist, a malignant narcissist. I actually got this example from a narcissist. And this guy is bored, right? Because narcissists get bored. And so he wants his wife to participate in some type of toxic engagement. And so what he does is, he goes to a secretary at work and he says, hey, I need some advice. You're a woman. I'm having problems with my wife at home. And I just, I'm such a victim and I don't know why she treats me this way. Right. And all this stuff is made up. It's manipulation by the narcissist. And so now this causes the secretary to empathize with the narcissist. Right. And typically the narcissist will do this so that the secretary will fall in love with him, right? Or be seduced by him because she sees him as being a vulnerable person, right? And then let's just say the narcissist comes home, everything is fine in the wife's eyes, right? Now that the narcissist is interested in someone else, now he typically will accuse his wife of cheating or accuse his wife of having toxic traits. He will project his traits onto his wife and will start a fight with his wife. And then we'll turn around and say, well, you don't understand me like the way Amy understands me at work. And so now this is done to pit both women against each other. And typically, because the narcissist is so deceptive, both women will be focused on one another, right? Rather than the narcissist himself. And they won't realize that the narcissist was clearly pulling the strings, right? And so once again, by understanding the traits of the narcissist, we can see triangulation methods used as clear as day. And so we won't fall for their deception. All right, let's see what the next slide discusses. Okay, so another example. Let's just say you're an intelligent person and you have strong spiritual beliefs. The narcissist will see this, right, and invite you in, let's just say on an online panel and have you on the panel with somebody who is an atheist or doesn't believe in, let's just say, the God of the Bible, right? Not because they're interested in your viewpoints, but because they know that your viewpoints is going to trigger someone else on the panel and get you in a heated debate, right? So when you understand how deceptive and manipulative the narcissist mindset is, you will realize that they're not interested in clarity, they're not interested in understanding your point of view, and they're not interested in solutions. The only thing that they're interested in is drama and chaos, right? And to make you look foolish, to make you react. The narcissist thrives on the negative reaction that it gets from victims of abuse. And because this example discusses triangulation, the person won't even realize that the person who invited them on the panel set them up to be sabotaged, right? So when it comes to the toxicity of these individuals and their tactics, they play dirty. They play dirty. You know, a personal story. I was invited to an event. And so typically the narcissist will groom the other person to hate you, right? And so I was invited to an event, and the narcissist had a lot of bad things to say about me, which I thought we were friends. I thought we were like best friends, right? Very naive of me to think that. And because of social media, even though I didn't know these people, they knew who I was and they knew what I looked like. And so when I arrived there, I was almost jumped because of the lies that the narcissist had spread about me, right? So luckily, with my discernment, I could feel something was off and I left the situation. But I did run into, a little bit of trouble. But these are the type of games. And then once again, what I didn't realize at the time was how I was set up by the narcissist and how he groomed someone else to do the dirty work, right? And once again, oh my God, the things that we go through when it comes to dealing with these kind, I mean, it's mind blowing. But once again, all this serves as a form of entertainment for these creatures, right? So we're just objects to be used for their own entertainment. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide and discuss the next concept, right? So the chameleon, right? So narcissists are very great at shape shifting, right? They're very great into molding themselves into characters that they think that you would like, right? So if you want somebody who's highly articulate and business savvy, the narcissist can be that. If you want somebody who is the popular person, the narcissist can be that. And they're so great at it. What you'll understand is a lot of narcissists, they actually go into acting and they make great actors. And after this series, we'll go ahead and break down the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. But once again, you see both individuals who are actors, right? And so this is also going to serve that false image, right? So narcissists are very good at creating these characters. And I really do think that it goes back to childhood trauma. And they can be anything that you want them to be. Once again, they can be the innocent damsel in distress. They can be that knight in shining armor, right? Anything that you want the narcissist to be, they can be that person, right? Or they can deceive you into thinking that they are that person. Same thing with these corporations, because narcissism also happens in the corporate world, right? It's ingrained in all areas of society. You can take on a job, it can seem great. The pay will be high. The benefits will also be great. But remember, if something, within my last situation, if something is too good to be true, it most likely is, right? So we have to be wary of this too. And then when you also study the relationships of the narcissist, if the narcissist can maintain long relationships, typically they're one person to one individual, or they're one character. They play a character to this individual, and then they will turn around and play another character to you. And this is why the narcissist keeps their friends apart from each other, because if we start sharing stories, we'll realize that we're talking about two different people, right? So that's also something to consider when it comes to understanding this type of spiritual disorder. So the next component I want to discuss is this perpetual envy that the narcissist has. Um, towards a lot of people, but mainly towards their victim of abuse. So a lot of us who involve ourselves in narcissistic relationships, there's something about us that the narcissist really does admire, right? So that's that wounded inner child version of the narcissist. They can see our beauty, they can see our leadership skills, they can see all these beautiful attributes about ourselves, and this is why they desire to form a relationship with us. And slowly but surely, because of these same traits, it turns into envy. Now, what makes the narcissist different is once the narcissist has envied you or decided that they are jealous of you, this is something that consumes them, right? And they will do everything in their power to draw you into their harem so that they can abuse you, right? And because they are so overtaken by this level of envy. And I do believe that this is where you get, to the demonic end of the disorder, right? So it's like that demon uses a narcissist to attach itself to you because these demons are on assignment to destroy you. And depending on your relationship with the most high, will determine, how often these demons really do try to come in and destroy your life, right? And so with the narcissist, they're always in competition with you, right? And if you have a quality that they wish they had, you will pay for it, right? And so this is why, it's very important to limit just the type of things that you talk about when it comes to meeting new people in your life, your goals and aspiration, also what you put on social media, because the narcissist is always watching, and social media is a tool that the narcissist uses to find more victims of abuse, right? To gather more supply. They're always looking for someone new because once again, they have a strong fear of abandonment. Okay. So, and once again, this envy, you could just be a random person walking down the street and they can become envious of you and obsessive over you. So, you don't have to be in a relationship with them for them to try to sabotage you or your life or your career or your goals or your education or your relationship, right? So, let's just say you have a healthy family and the narcissist sees that, the narcissist wants that. So the narcissist will purposely do things to try to destroy your family. Maybe call, you know, what is it? One of these governmental departments and say that you're abusing your children, may try to sleep with your significant other to destroy the family unit, may cause division within the family dynamic. And once again, this is something, whether or not you're in a relationship with a narcissist, this is something that triggers them. And so it's also important to realize that whether or not you're in a relationship with them, you still need to be on guard, right? So some people could say, well, I've never dealt with a narcissist, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm telling you, there's too many of them. And once again, because the awareness is increasing, they're finding any and everybody that they can to abuse. And once again, I always say this, but this is why we see, excuse me, the rise of the Karen phenomenon. These narcissists, and it's not just women, it's men too, but they're going and looking for trouble because the narcissist needs to get that ego fed. They need to inflict trauma on anyone, right? And so because they're getting desperate, they're going out into society where in the past they used to hide behind closed doors just to inflict abuse on people, right? And the narcissist is always going to devalue the positive traits about you, right? The traits that they lack, they will attack you because you have those traits. So, what happened to me in my personal life is narcissists would always say things like, "Oh, you're so bubbly," or "You're so giggly. You're always laughing," and it really does bother them because they don't know what that feels like, especially if there's a demonic stronghold. Who knows what the demon is doing to them? And it was, somebody also brought that message on the chat, right? Not on the chat, but on a comment of mine, and insinuated that, am I a liar or a narcissist, right? So I'm a little bit too happy for the abuse that I went through. And because I'm no longer in a traumatized state, the narcissist or the person who has, somewhat of narcissistic traits is bothered by it. And so wants to accuse me of being a fraud because they're jealous of positive traits that I possess and they lack. And so, once again, this can also be done through backhanded compliments or being passive aggressive. All right, so let's see what we have on the next slide. Okay, so once again, I really want to hammer in the point that the envy or jealousy that the narcissist does possess, it can become dangerous. And if it can become so dangerous that if the narcissist believes that they can harm you, physically harm you, and they can get away with it, they will take action. Right? So I always tell you off, the narcissist can off you and they feel like they can get away with it, they will go through it, right? So when it comes to sociopathy and psychopathy, you're a narcissist first, right? So they later evolve into these things, right? So we really want to look for the red flags because it could really be a life or death situation. Okay. And so remember, the narcissist is always lurking in the shadows. And going back to the idea of social media, now we live in a generation where society doesn't believe in boundaries, right? And so people share their entire lives on these social media platforms or the image that they want people to believe their lives are. However, you do have predators behind the screen who flock to social media. And let's just say you have physical beauty. It's very important to limit your interaction with social media and to make your accounts private, right? Because once again, the predator knows who you are. You don't know who the predator is. So you could be out in public. Let's just say if you're from a small town and you could be subject to abuse because you have someone who has perpetual envy towards you. Okay. So moving on to the next slide, let's talk about the emotional manipulation tactics of the narcissist. Okay. This is also going to be very important. Narcissists are great manipulators, but I really wanted to discuss how they're able to manipulate the emotions of their victims or their targeted individuals. So let me go ahead and move to the next slide. And hopefully everyone's doing well in the chat, excuse me. Okay, so when it comes to the narcissist, a lot of people, I personally think that the narcissist, depending on where they are on the spectrum, they're really not the brightest, right? They're not bright people. And as I stated earlier, they're very robotic in nature. They're really good at gathering information about you and then throwing it back at you. It's the craziest thing. However, they are master manipulators. And so we have to take them seriously when it comes to the art of manipulation. And I do believe the reason why they're so great at it is because of this demonic stronghold, right? Because of this demonic influence. This entity that controls them has been here for much longer than we have. And because this entity has been here for so long, it knows how to manipulate the human race. Okay. So not only can you be manipulated in real life or in the relationship dynamic, but you can also be manipulated via technology, right? So when it comes to text messaging, when it comes to emailing, when it comes to comments via social media, the narcissist is very skilled at using buzzwords to appeal to your emotions to get you to fulfill their needs. So, for example, I had a friend, and I had tons of narcissists as friends, unfortunately, before I realized what the disorder was. I had a friend who reached out to me out of nowhere, right? I guess you could sense that I was kind of pulling back, but I'm an Aquarius, so that's what we do anyway. But he could sense that I was pulling back. And so what he did was he sent me a message saying that he just got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And he was very sad and just, saddened about the situation. And of course, being an empathic person, I called him right away. Right. So he ignores the phone call. I call again and he's like, I'm at work. And I'm like, okay, well, when you get off of work, I'll come over and we can have a discussion about it. I'm actually reading a book that talks about remedies to heal from this I guess you can call it disease or disorder. And, this was information which I feel that he gathered from stalking my social media because I was oversharing on social media. And he used that as an opportunity to tell me that I'm stupid and that he can't believe that I would believe that you can actually heal from this disease. He also stated that I'm very gullible. And then he followed that up by telling me that he went to another doctor and he actually wasn't diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, right? So he did this to get me to engage with him, right? So the narcissist is always looking to have that engagement with you. They're always looking to have that conversation with you, and they're going to use various buzzwords via text messaging to draw you in, to appeal to your emotions, right? So another way that they can manipulate you in the romantic setting is building this sexual chemistry with you. So, as I stated earlier, the narcissist and the codependent already are naturally drawn to each other because the narcissist represents that abusive parent that the codependent had. And the narcissist is also highly attracted to the codependent due to their inner childhood trauma, right? So, the person behind the possession. And the demon is also attracted to the codependent because they want to destroy the codependent due to the positive traits that the codependent has. So there is a strong chemistry between the two. And so the narcissist will use this, will play on this to really lock you in, I guess you can say. And so this is why the narcissist wants to sleep with you right away, right? Because they want you to be very, very, very sexually stimulated by them so that they can control you and thus so that they can abuse you and so that you don't leave. And they will use sex to keep you from leaving, right? And then another important fact is, let's just say, because of this dysfunctional chemistry that you have with the narcissist can also turn that around and no longer be interested by you in the bedroom, so it can shatter your ego, right? So like out of nowhere, the sexual chemistry seems to dissipate, and once again this is going to re-traumatize the victim of abuse. All right, so let's see what we have here. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Welcome to the Narcissism 101 series. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right. So when the victim of abuse goes through this is going to cause them to spiral out of control, right? Because now the victim of abuse who has already been wounded is going to wonder, what is wrong with me? Why does the narcissist not like me anymore, right? So the narcissist is very great at building you up just to break you down. This is something that they're highly skilled at. And then once again, this trauma can damage you in so many areas of your life. It can damage your hormones. It can alter your brain function, giving you temporary brain damage. And of course, because it's emotional manipulations, it can alter your emotions, right? And this is what locks a lot of victims, or this is why a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse are trauma bonded, because it stems from childhood trauma, right? So once again, that inner child is aware of that spirit that controls the narcissist. That wounded inner child is also linked to the wounded inner child of the narcissist, right? And so this is what's going to draw the two energies together. And this is what also makes the codependent an ideal target for the narcissist to use, because the narcissist knows, because of the codependency, the person is less likely to leave the situation. So let's go ahead and go to the next trait. Let's talk about the desire for engagement, right? So the narcissist is always looking for ways to engage with the potential victims of abuse, the victims of abuse. They're always looking for some type of, encounter with, various people who they feel they can gain supply from. So this can be, the narcissist doesn't care if your engagement with them is positive or negative. All that matters is they gain your attention as long as possible, right? So that's all they care about, right? So they will say things to try to trigger you, uh, just to get you to engage. This can be done by leaving hateful comments on your page, right? So I've had a few on my page, and when I reply, it may spiral out into a longer conversation, or they don't engage at all, or they will turn it back and they'll call me the narcissist, right? They will do things to question your character, as well as a plethora of other things. And once again, this is done so that you engage with them, right? So when we preach the fact of not engaging with the narcissist, this is what we mean. It's very, very important. Fighting with these entities, it's not even worth it, because they're not looking for any solutions. They're just looking to fight. They're looking to gain that toxic energy off of you. It's almost like this energy exchange between the two parties, right? So the narcissist is able to take your positive energy, and then they spew on their negative energy onto you. And this is why a lot of us feel drained when we're, engaging with these entities, right? It's imagine waking up to this stuff, right? So let's see what else we have here. And now when it comes to this engagement, you have to remember that the narcissist is always grooming their victim of abuse, right? The narcissist always wants you to feel that there is something wrong with you, right? So narcissists will typically draw you in for a fight, and then they will give you the silent treatment. So this is when they stop texting you back. This is when they leave the relationship, or this is when you see them at work and they don't speak to you. They act like you're non-existent, right? So this is meant to throw the victim of abuse off guard, to get them to doubt themselves, to question themselves, to get them to feel as if they did something wrong, right? And if I didn't say gaslight themselves, that too. So let's see. And then this will also force the victim to, question themselves, because a lot of codependents want to do things to make the relationship better, right? So we're taught if there's a problem, we have to fix it. We were taught this as children. And so we take these same behaviors on into our relationship dynamics, our workplace dynamics. And this is also not healthy, right? It's just a manipulation tactic that these various entities are using to really, you know, make you feel some type of way, I guess you can say. So let's see what this last line is saying. Yes, and so it says, remember, all these things are done for engagement purposes only. They are not interested in you or what you're doing. Everything is about them, right? So we have to stop uh, projecting our behavior onto the narcissist, our viewpoints onto the narcissist. Mentally, spiritually, we are different people. The narcissist does not care about you at all, at all. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but they don't. Even if it's a family member, right? And once you can understand that, you can empower yourself and you can leave the situation. Okay. So on the next slide, let's talk about how quickly the narcissist moves when it comes to engaging with you, right? So the narcissist is very aware that people come in and out of their lives. And so because of this, they move quickly. Now, by moving quickly, the narcissist is more readily able to deceive you, right? So they want to hop in the bed with you right away. They want to know where you live right away. They want to have access to all your social media accounts right away. They want to know where you work. What what are your goals in life? They want to know how much money is in your bank account. What are your beliefs? They want to know all this stuff so that they can encapsulate you as quickly as possible. Because if they move at such a great speed, you won't realize who they truly are. This is why when you first meet them, they always have to be around you. They want to hang out with you 24/7. And this is what we see a lot in the love bombing period. And so it seems like you met your perfect match. However, this is just another manipulation tactic, right? This is why, and it can also happen in the work setting. As soon as you get hired, they want you to start right away. They want you to hang out with them right away. And once again, by moving at such a fast speed, then they can deceive you, right? And a lot of victims of abuse or a lot of codependents already have problems with setting boundaries. So when it comes to forming relationships with anyone, you want to take your time. You want to start setting small boundaries and seeing how the individual reacts. If they spiral out of control because you set a small boundary, that is not the person that you want to have a relationship with, right? Because narcissists are only concerned about their needs. And once again, since you are an object in their eyes to be used, they hate when you place boundaries because they only hit you up so that you can satisfy their needs, right? So let's see here. Okay, and I think I talked about this. And this can also be done via titles, right? So let's just say you meet a narcissist, everything moves fast. Now they're calling you babe. Now they're giving you various titles of admiration in the workforce, right? And they don't even know you yet, right? They haven't even really assessed who you are. And then this is, once again, it's just a tactic to manipulate you. I know we all want to feel special. We all want to feel significant, and we are. But we have to realize that the enemy will also use this to play against us. So let's go ahead and talk about the next trait. We're almost done with these traits. Okay, so let's talk about the concept of projection. So how many of you all in the chats have heard the projection and have heard the narcissist tell us that we're the narcissists, right? And this is, oh my God, it's a crazy phenomenon we see nowadays. But I've, people have, even, called me one, right? And I'm over here trying to teach empowerment, but, apparently they feel that, they're projecting their behavior onto me, I guess we can say, right? So the narcissist does a very great job at projecting their toxic traits onto the victim of abuse. And this is This is done because the narcissist is unwilling to introspect. Okay. And because they don't introspect, most likely because their inner child is so wounded and this demonic stronghold, is controlling them, that they project who they are onto you because they're unwilling to accept how horrible of people they are, right? And so they want to make you appear to be the bad guy. And when it comes to the mindset of the narcissist, the way that they think is very binary. You're either all good or you're all bad. And so we see this in the familial setting, or the narcissistic familial dynamic, right? So you'll have one child who's propped up, deemed as the golden child. You'll have another child who can do no right, which is a scapegoat, right? And depending on the relationship that the child has with the narcissistic parent will determine the title in which they are given, right? So let's see here. We talked about the narcissist calling the victims of abuse narcissists. In addition, narcissists are also evolving. So what they do is they discover, or they follow narcissistic abuse recovery channels, and they study the lingo, and they will throw the lingo back at us, or back at the target of abuse, right? To gaslight the victim into thinking that something must be wrong with them and that they are the narcissist. But really, the narcissists, once again, they're like computers. They're very good at gathering data, and they will use that data. They'll use these different buzzwords to throw it back at you, right? To get you to question your reality and to question your character. So the last trait, when it comes to identifying the narcissist, is their ability to seal the deal. Okay. So let me move on to the next slide. Let me get it up on my other computer screen. So as I mentioned earlier, the narcissists, they move quickly, right? So as soon as they see their source of supply, their predatory nature acts very, 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 very quickly. And once again, the goal is to trap you for a lifetime, right? And so once again, this can be done in various settings, right? So you all know my story. The narcissist can adopt children and groom them to be codependent, right? To satisfy their needs. They also can marry someone so that they can have access to their finances, right? They can force a child on someone. So you have to be careful, because the narcissist, whether male or female, will purposely try to have a baby by you, so that you are stuck with them for at least 18 years, right? So this stuff is very intentional. It's not a mistake. They do this stuff on purpose because they want to feed off of your energy, your energetic force for a lifetime, right? In the work setting, slowly but surely, the managers will use intermittent reinforcement to train you to be submissive when it comes to teach you anything. The company will make sure that whatever skills they teach you are only relevant to their company so that you can't take that skill set and use it elsewhere. So a lot of these companies will use these outdated programs that you've never heard of and will train you on those programs so that you don't leave, right? And they overwhelm you with all these assignments and so that you can't leave, right? Because they really need to feed off of you. And then once again, the narcissistic parent, whether adopted or biological, will find a child that they clip their wings and to make sure that that child never leaves, and this is why you have adult children taking care of their parents and they are supply for a lifetime. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so let's see here. So let's review. So the traits that I gave 10 traits. First is bait and switch. The narcissist is also a chameleon or a shapeshifter. This is why they make very great actors. Narcissists desire engagement and they will use whatever it takes to engage with you. Remember, you're an object to be used in the eyes of the narcissist. They're envious. They move at lightning speed. They love to project and triangulate. They're great emotional manipulators and they go in to seal the deal. Okay, so we discussed a few traits of the narcissist, right? But because this is an empowerment channel as well, let's go ahead and talk about some strategies for success, right? Because I don't want, those of you who are going through this type of abuse, I don't want you to believe that you're stuck there, right? So I've outlined a few steps that you can take to not only leave these situations, but to empower yourself so that you don't get into these situations again. So at the top of the chart, I believe that the most important thing is for you to build a connection with the creator, the most high. This is going to be very important because once you build a connection with the most high, we hear the concept of the Holy Spirit, right? So this is going to be the spirit of discernment. And the Lord will reveal to you how these demons operate. So the reason why I have been able to identify, the concept of the hive mind, this matrix system, the weird synchronicities, when it comes to the narcissist hoovering you, appearing at places that you were at, as the concept of understanding how widespread the disorder is, this is all going to be through spiritual discernment. Also, when you have a creator with the most high, you realize that your life has value. You have value. So in turn, you will learn to value yourself. And this is going to be very important so that you know what relationships you can and cannot participate in. If somebody devalues you, even if it's something small, even if they claim they got triggered, you have to identify these red flags so that you don't run into these things later on down the road, right? And so awareness is also going to be important. So you want to understand who the narcissist is. You want to understand their characters. You want to understand the various manipulation tactics that they use, right? You want to understand their tactics, the cycle of abuse. You want to understand how they're all similar in nature. You want to understand, you be aware of the fact that they can appear differently, right? They can either be covert or overt. There's a spectrum of narcissists. You want to understand that there's a difference between someone possessing narcissistic traits versus someone being a full-blown narcissist. You want to be aware that they're predators seeking who they can to devour. You want to understand that there is a spiritual component linked to the narcissist, which is why they diabolically seek to destroy you, your life, and everything that you have going for you. Once again, if they can off you, they will. Also, you want to focus on healing that inner child. A lot of us were born into highly traumatizing families, right? And this was of no fault of our own, right? But we can use the childhood trauma that we endured as a lesson to understand that there is definitely evil in this world. And if we can heal that inner child, you won't be heavily attracted to the narcissist. And I'm speaking from experience. They will change to you. Their eyes will change. Their behavior will change. You will no longer be enticed by them. They won't be able to cast a spell over you like they did in the past. Also, pattern recognition is very important. Start studying the patterns. So, not only the behaviors of the narcissist, but the patterns. And this too is going to help you identify what you're dealing with. Now, when it comes to grieving, you want to grieve. You have to grieve. You have to let go of these negative energies that you've had stored in your body for a lifetime. This is going to limit the power that the narcissist has over you because you're not holding on to these negative beliefs about yourself, or this shame, or this guilt, or these lies that people have taught you to believe about yourself, right? And so if you don't know the 5 stages of grief, just Google it. There's a process. It doesn't have to go in order. But once you get to the stage of acceptance, you know that you're doing a good job. And lastly, you want to make sure that you empower yourself, right? So this is going to happen when you focus on building your self-esteem, right? This is also going to be important when it comes to setting boundaries. A lot of us were shamed for setting boundaries. A lot of us didn't even know how to put ourselves first, right? But you want to start practicing setting strong and healthy boundaries so that you're not drained or deceived by these entities. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide. I'm almost done, you guys. And then we can go ahead and get into the messy stuff. All right. So the road to success, or the roadmap to success. So these are going to be some additional things. Some of them may be redundant, but let's go ahead and talk about them, right? So once again, it's very important, if you truly want to heal from this disorder and have the spiritual eyes to see, you want to form a relationship with the Creator, because all of this is very biblical. As much as we try to ignore the biblical side of it, it's very biblical. It's very spiritual. You want to study, study, study. And did I say study? You want to keep studying the traits of these entities. They're very similar in nature. And the more you study them, the more you can safeguard yourself. So I studied narcissism for 2 years, every day for 2 years. And I definitely have different spiritual eyes. I have eyes that see now, right? It's kind of like the film They Live. I have those sunglasses. Let's see. And then also, you want to make sure that you have a strong support system. So this could be done by reaching out to professionals or experts that you trust. Also, learning to form, learning how to form a healthy community for support, right? So as a human race, we want to make sure that we have support. We are pack animals, right? We need to have a strong support system, especially when it comes to recovering. You want to understand that you are not alone, and that not everybody in the world is bad, but we have plenty of bad, but not everybody in the world is bad. And then you want to understand the power of saying no. It is very important to say no, right? And it doesn't make you a bad person. And then the last thing is you want to elevate, empower, and enlighten yourself so that you don't go through this abuse again. Okay, so let's see what we got here on the next slide. In conclusion, we're making it through. Okay, so in conclusion, it is important to note that many of these tactics mentioned in the presentation are used simultaneously, which makes them harder to spot. So you can have the triangulation occurring during the love bomb period, also the gaslighting, all occurring at the same time, right? The crazy making, right? And so once again, really understand the concepts. So it makes it that much easier to identify them. It took me forever to understand what gaslighting was. I thought it was just lying. It's way more than lying. Okay. So in closing, you have the power to identify the traits of the narcissist, as well as the ability to heal from your childhood traumas. Child abuse is what summons the narcissist into your life. So take your power back and heal. So if you haven't learned anything from any video that I put out there, just know that you can take your power back and you can heal, right? I really want this channel to be about empowerment. Okay, so now hopefully you all like the presentation. So I ask that you can support me by just simply clicking the like button. That's all. That's all. And let's see here. Okay. And then if you also have any questions, just go ahead and email me. My email is there. So reboundingfromnarcissism@gmail.com. Once again, let me know if you have any questions about, this type of disorder. And we are going to get into part 2. So let's see what other slides. I think I have a few more slides left, and then we'll go ahead. And what I'll do is I'm going to end the live stream, and then, well, we'll do a few, we'll do an after show, and then we'll come back and then do a separate video for copyright reasons. Okay. So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about these two characters here. And, just as a disclaimer, a lot of us have bought into this binary way of thinking paradigm, right? And so people think if you support one thing, then you're 100% against another thing. And I am telling you, I am not a narcissist, so I don't have black or white thinking. There is a gray area. So with that said, hopefully you all enjoyed the presentation. Hopefully you learned something. If you know somebody who is dealing with this type of abuse and wants more answers, just go ahead and share the video. Share the video with your friend, your family member, so that they can wake up and understand this stuff too. We have to stop pacifying the behavior of the enemy. We have to expose it, right? And we can't keep hiding, what these type of individuals are doing to destroy other people's lives or good people's lives, right? Because people, on extreme cases have off themselves because of the abuse that they've encountered doing. They encounter having a narcissist in their lives, and it's very unfortunate, right? So let's just say, the individual did not have a strong relationship with the creator, maybe thought that we were stardust, and he gets used and abused by a demonic force, or she. And then because the trauma is so deep, because the world has ostracized them for a lifetime, they turn around and take their own lives because they didn't have value over who they were, because they were never taught value and they never had a relationship with the creator, right? So this is, once again, why I created the channel. So I know it's deep stuff. I know it's not the best stuff. You don't want to hear this all the time. But once again, we have to do our duty and expose what is going on, to a certain sector of the populations. Our stories go unheard. People try to dismiss us and they gaslight us and tell us what we went through, we did not go through. And, not only am I going to tell you what I went through, I'm going to break it down, point by point so that you can understand it as well, right? I'm not talking to you all, but, the people who like to dismiss us. So let's go ahead and get into the after show. I'll go ahead and leave. Let's see. Could we leave this up or this? I'll just put part 2 up. Okay, perfect. All right. It's beautiful to see all of you here. I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good. I'm caught up on my homework. Let me go ahead and do another presentation because I feel like you guys like the presentations better. Let's see here. So just looking through the live stream. And then for those of you who just joined, part 1 was our Narcissistic 101, our Narcissism 101 series, where we discuss various traits of the narcissist. Part 2 is going to be a breakdown of the traits that we just learned when it comes to really dissecting the dynamic between the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case, right? So this is something that is, a public thing that they're going through. And guess what, you all? Narcissism is ingrained all in it, right? So when I talk about how the seriousness of this disorder, it affects so many people, right? And so a lot of what was interesting about the case was a lot of people were discussing the traits of the narcissist. However, the term narcissist was not used, or narcissism was not used, or personality disorder was not used. And this is a way to keep the disorder hidden in the shadows, right? And, sometimes people look at how successful people are, or how they look, and believe that nothing's wrong with them, but they never know who that person is behind closed doors. And so even when it comes to breaking down the dynamic, between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, once again, I don't have this black or white point of view, and I do believe that it takes two to tango. So even for those of us who have had a negative experience with the narcissist, if we were adults, we have to take personal accountability too. Like, we may not have been as disastrous as they were, but we did agree to have them in our lives. So that's also important. And it's also going to help when it comes to healing because nobody's a victim over here. I'm not a victim and you're not a victim. This is just something that we went through and we don't have to stay there. Okay, let's see. So looking through these comments. Okay, so it says everyone who has experienced this firsthand knows exactly what you mean. Oh man, and my heart goes out to you all because going through this crap, oh my God. Oh my God. It is a lot. But yes, especially those of us who have had narcissists as parents, right? I had a dark triad as a parent, right? And in the video that we in the next live stream, it looks like someone else who had a mother very similar to the one that raised me. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was the only one. Guess not. Okay, I would like to add, they make it very difficult to leave. Yes. And so this, okay, let me just finish. Often they will take screenshots of you out of context as leverage against you. Yes, they will. They're like 10 steps ahead, no joke. And yes, and I think this is where the demonic influence comes from, right? So I do believe, one second. I believe that these demons are outside of our time and space continuum, right? So they know how to get to stuff before we get to them, right? And this is why they're so good at deceiving us. They're very deceptive. Let's see here. And yes, so they will do things such as, and we're going to talk about that in this next live stream coming up, but we're going to talk about how they're always 10 steps ahead and they're really good at altering people's perception of you. And people seem to believe in lies over the truth any day. So once the narcissist projects who they are onto us, people will most likely believe it, right? So even being a content creator and being accused of being a narcissist when I truly want victims of abuse to heal, this is the games that they play, right? And let's see here. They will also do this with what is it, porn revenge, right? Get you in a compromised state and we'll have it look like you were the one trying to seduce them or you were the toxic one. It's crazy. It says, what? Let's see here. Exactly. As soon as I suspect a narc around me, I avoid them. Yes, avoid them at all costs. And during your spiritual evolution, I just read what James wrote. I'm sorry. Okay, so as you evolve spiritually, you're going to start to notice them almost right away. And so, I'm always on guard. I'm always looking for one. I'm not paranoid, but I'm always looking because I know how vast the disorder is. It's the Antichrist spirit that the Bible talks about in the last days. This is the Antichrist spirit. This is the spirit of narcissism. It's like worship of self, only care about self, only care about materialism, right? It seems like there's no support these days, or it's very rare, right? It's always attack, 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 and attack again. So yes, you want to avoid them. That's the only thing that I think that works, right? Building a connection up with God and strong boundaries, right? Because they're dangerous. And the thing is, another reason why I talk about the concept of narcissism so much is because evil knows no limits. It knows no limits, right? So it could be something small in the beginning and it can end with something disastrous, right? So this is why it's important. Okay, so yes, so we will be talking about that soon. Yes, glitching for sure. Oh my god, I've had some I had some recent encounters with glitchy narcissists, and it's something about their programming is malfunctioning. I don't know what it is. And when it comes to exercising these demons, I do it and I don't even try. Just engagement with me causes that demon to manifest. And I think it's because that demonic entity, it knows that I'm going to catch on, so it shows itself before I catch on. Oh my god. Okay, so let's see here. As for me, I was abused all my life by my narc family. Now I went no contact. Good for you, Donna. Perfect. Now my dear son married. Oh shit. Excuse me. Married to a narc, and he's taking on those behaviors. I am torn. We are so close. I guess the only thing that you can do is pray for him. When it comes to understanding the topic of narcissism, this is something that the individual has to want to understand. And it's very interesting, right? When I first found out about the disorder, I could talk to friends who were going through the abuse and they just didn't get it. And Yeah, so the victim of abuse has to want to understand this. And, it's going to be up to your son whether or not he wants to continue that relationship or not. But this is something that we have to do. No one can really bring this information to us. I wish we could, I wish I could shout it out, on the rooftops. But, narcissism, once again, because it's spiritual, because it's something that society pacifies and protects and dismisses those of us who've gone through this type of abuse or belittles, the abuse that we went through. It seems like it's going to be something that constantly continues. Okay. Yes, they definitely have a sixth sense. Yeah. Johnny Depp also talked about that in relation to his mom. Remind me if I forget. Okay. So let's see here. Had a romantic interest with one chick. She legit did the most abusive things to me and screenshots everything. Yeah, they will set you up, man. Oh my God. And once again, it's not only women, it's men too. But they will set you up. Oh my God. And then yeah, you'll have PTSD. That's another thing that a lot of us have dealt with. And I think that's why a lot of us don't want to go through recovery is because of the PTSD. And the PTSD, I'm a strong guy, right? And I healed pretty quickly, but the PTSD lingered, right? And if it wasn't on the conscious level, it was on a subconscious level. I started having PTSD in my dreams, right? So the spiritual stronghold that they have on you is, I mean, it is crazy, 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 crazy. All right, so let's see. It's 7:53 my time. Let me go ahead and try to rush through these comments so we can do the next live stream. Let's see. Yeah, me either, Wendy. I do not like arguing or competition. I run from it. I hate it. I go by the mindset of can we all just get along, even though I know we can't all just get along. But yeah, it's crazy for sure. Okay, checking some of these comments. Okay, let me see what we have here. You're just one of many when you first meet them, though they lie and make you feel like and make you feel like you're the only one. Oh, tell me about that. Tell me about that. And it's a weird thing narcissists do with me, like narcissistic women. They love to make me the other guy. I can't tell you how many situations I wasn't even fully in the situation yet, and I already had the baby daddy or the ex hitting me up, threatening me, and I'm like, and once again, life is a game to the narcissist, right? So if you look like someone who can make their significant other jealous, they'll just throw you in there, right? And I'm like, you're too pretty to be acting like that. Why you do this? It's crazy. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so it says I remember pouring my heart out to one of my exes because he was making me feel uncomfortable with him or comfortable with him, telling me I don't judge. Later, I found out he was the most judgmental prejudice person. Right? Yeah, yeah. Right. Once you discover who they truly are, it is a turn off. Let me tell you, leaving our rocking is my best advice. Yes. Now, with me, I feel like in the work setting, if you can gray rock, it's important. But when you live with these demons behind closed doors, if you start, well, depending on the type of narcissist, if you start to gray rock them and they're the violent type, that will make them become violent. So I always just suggest if you have the ability to leave, which I know is hard these days, go for it. Okay, so which one is a narc? It could be both. It could be both, but I'll let you know in the next video. Let's see. Okay. All right, all right. Okay, I think what we're gonna do. All right, so you know what, you all? So we have a lot of comments here. I will go ahead and read them during the playback. But let me go ahead and give you all maybe like a 2-3 minute break. And then we'll go ahead and end this live stream and start part two. And for those of you who just joined, the reason why we're breaking these live streams up is because I know that I'm most likely going to get hit with a copyright. So what we're going to do is examine some of the footage. And so once I get hit with the copyright, the video is going to be taken down, or if I have to edit the videos, then I lose all the comments, and I really want to read these, right? And so also let me know, in the comment section, if you want me to do more of these these types of live streams, right? So I don't mind the PowerPoint presentation. I do believe that, when I'm enlightened or inspired to do these, I think that it will be very beneficial. And remember, you guys, like. When it comes to the majority of a lot of videos on the channel, I don't really care if most people see them. But with this one, I do feel like this is a video that most people need to see, right? Because it's going to discuss a little bit more about narcissism than, your comment rates. So, with that said, I will see you all in a few minutes. Take care, you all. Shalom. Bye. Let me go ahead and end it with some music, and we'll come back shortly. Let's see. Put on some lo-fi.